Salvete omnes. Um, we're about to start the AP syllabus with Aeneid, Book 1, lines 1 through 11. So I titled this Fugitive of Fate. So we're going to be introduced to Aeneas. It's going to lay out kind of what his task is, and it's also going to introduce us to a major goddess. And it's also going to do one thing that epic poems love to do is to cite a muse or to get inspiration from the muse. All right, so I'm going to point out some grammar as well as we go on. Let's begin. So I sing of arms and a man. All right, again, this is my object. Anything in green is an object, right? So this can also mean a war, and so we call this metonymy. So it could mean weapons, but weapons are used as instruments of war. So I sing of a war and a man. Excuse me. So arma is metonymy. That is a part of something that references another larger thing. And then obviously he sings of a man, and that man is Aeneas, who this qui is going to go with the man who first a fugitive, a refugee, by or from or because of fate, anything purple is ablative, and note the ending, from the shores of Troy. He came to Italy. So there should be an ad here, but there's not one. We don't need it. And to the Lavinian shores. Okay, so this is a perfect verb. This is our main or head verb right here, right? And actually, it's not a head verb. It's a verb in a relative clause. We have a relative pronoun. Our main verb is actually kano. Okay, and then we're going to get a whole bunch of participles. Here's one participle. Here's another participle down here. And then we're going to set up with some subjunctive verbs, which subjunctive is again is a potential or possibility. And there's a couple other things we'll touch upon as well. And this right here, this is called enjambment. This is when the line spills over to the next, and it kind of has a hanging off point, right? But here we go. And if we scan, we should notice that this is a lesion here and here. But so again, this is going to refer to Aeneas, the unnamed. Or here he is. He's the fugitive by fate, having been tossed. Or sorry, that guy, that one, he, Aeneas, having been tossed much both on land and the deep or the sea. Okay. So here we have some parallelism. Could be interlocking word. And then here again, another enjambment. By the force of the gods. Now, in the original text, this is out of here, right? It should be super orum of the ones above, so of the gods, right? And that is called syncope or syncopation, is when we shorten a word. And Virgil does that here again to fit the scansion. And then we have on account of the mindful wrath of savage Juno, right? So here we have, these are genitives, right? This is an adjective going with Juno, and this is the noun, accusative noun, because of the M, that goes with this preposition ob, right? And mindful is the adjective going with that. So here we have synchesis, again, interlocking word order. Moving on below, we start with this. Actually, we can start with also, uh, and still or also, having endured or endured much with respect to or by or because of war, until he founded the city, or to or in order to found the city, and to bear or bring the gods to Latium. Now, latium here is this is a dative ending, right? And it's only used in poetry. This is called a dative of direction. Also, let's note that we have imperfect subjunctives here, one and two, right? So they're imperfect subjunctives because this is an infinitive plus an ending. Same thing here. This is an infinitive plus an ending. Okay. From whence or from where the Latin race and the Alban fathers and also the walls of lofty Rome came. So this verb is not present here. All right. Again, to fit the scansion of it, I've added it in here, and this is done as ellipsis. So ellipsis is a poetic device that takes out words, and we can imply them or understand them based on context. And most of those verbs are, most of the time, it's the verb to be or it's the verb to say. In this context, it's whenerunt, right? So came. So these are all subject forms. Latium or Latinum is, this is a region in Italy, right about where Rome is going to be. All right, and this is some foreshadowing. The Alban fathers. This references Aeneas's son Ascanius, who becomes the king of Alba Longa, right, the White City. Um, so he founds that, and also the walls of lofty Rome. You would think that lofty would go with walls, but here it's going with Rome, which is a unique choice there. Um, so they're talking about the walls of the city, future walls of the city. Right, and now we invoke our muse, right? You cannot have an epic poem unless you invoke the muse. So, muse, recall to me the reasons or recall to me the causes. This is called an imperative, right? It's a command. And this, Musa, is a vocative. Sometimes we'll see an O here. O Musa, right? So, what divine will, or with what divine will, having been harmed, right? So lyso goes with numine, right? This could be an ablative absolute because we have a participle with a noun, right? Here's our participle, comes from the verb to harm, right? And this is divinity or divine will. Or the queen of the gods, grieving what? Grieving at what? Then we have to go all the way down here to find our main verb, impulerit, forced, compelled. And now we're going to get a couple things after that, but we need an object first. So we're going to go here to find our direct object, right? This is the man, the same man as mentioned above, Aeneas. And Aeneas is marked. He is distinguished by piety, right? Or in piety, or with devotion to the gods. This is something that is referred to as Aeneas quite often as pious. And that there's no mistake there. Augustus, again, is associated with Aeneas. They share the same initial letter for their names. There's no mistaken that Aeneas and Augustus are supposed to be related or similar. So she forced the queen. She forced the man marked by piety. And now we have this clause and we have this clause, right? And they start with tote. So we have an anaphora, well, a poetic device. And then again, there's parallelism here in the fact that we have tote, we have an infinitive that is with the head verb here, impulerit. We have an object, another infinitive, right, and another object of the infinitive. Right? So to turn over, to roll over so many misfortunes, and to undertake so many toils or labors or challenges. Okay? And now here we have there are such great, or this is a question, are there not, or there are such great, or are there not such great, so many great wraths too? The minds of the gods. Okay, here we have that chiasmus, that rainbow order. Right, these are subjects, nominative subjects. The verb to be is omitted here, so that's ellipsis, just like we had above with Winerant. And these are datives actually. These most likely would be considered datives of possession. Um, and we can also say like what minds to the gods above, or to what gods above, or why do they have such anger, such great anger? Um, and that's most likely referring to Juno here again. So, a couple things to note. We're introduced to Aeneas, right? He's the man, right? And the war is referring to the Trojan War, right? So, Arma, even though, again, it's metonymy for war, which means weapons, which means but translates to war, we learn where he's going to end up, and he's a fugitive bound by fate. Right, and we learn that he suffers. He's tossed about on land and sea by the force of the god, by the violence of the gods. Right, and he suffered much in war. Right, to found the city and to carry the gods to Latium. So this is their household gods, as well as their state gods. And we learn about what's going to happen. Um, so from which came the Latin race, the Alban Fathers, and the walls of lofty Rome. We have our muse. Um, so we learn about a queen. This is the queen of the gods, right? This is Juno again. And she's going to make Aeneas, right here, go through lots of things. But Aeneas is a man marked by piety. Right, this should actually be colored purple. Right, so that's it. That's the first 11 lines of the Aeneid, Fugitive of Fate. Um, we'll see you next time. Vale te omnes, curate ut valiatis.